All right, so we're still going to come back to the top nav because there are still things that needs to be put in place, like the icon of the navigation on the top nav, including the badge. So if we look at this, so you can see we have something like that. I'm just going to show you that real quick. So we have the navigation, sorry, the notification, which is a bell, and we have this badge right here. So we need to add that, and we also need to add the avatar of the user that's logged in. So instead of just solemnly adding the name right here, we could also add like the avatar image right here, a circle image, something like that, which shouldn't be really difficult to implement. But in this video we're going to work on the sidebar and the main layout. So we're not going to be putting anything in the main layout. We're just going to uh, structure it in such a way that it's reusable, if I'm to put it that way. Like if you want to actually use it in a real application, so it's going to be really reusable. uh, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So let's head back to our code, and now we have our panel, we have our sidebar, and we have our main. So let's start with the panel. So I'm just going to give some space because we need to come back to the nav bar, sorry, the top nav. I don't know why I keep, okay, it's still a nav bar, but I believe it's best to call it a top nav, right? So let's give this, let's say, sidebar and main layout. So you remember we need to start with the panel. So according to the image, I'm just going to scale this down back to how it should be. So you can see we have them side by side. So we have the sidebar over here, which is from, I'm just going to draw this image, come on, yeah. So we have it like this, and we have this other one over here, which is side by side. So what do you think we can use to get that illusion of them being side by side? I know you already know what we should do. We should make it a flex box. So we should convert it to a flex box. So we just change the display to flex. So once you make the display flex, then it's easy to work from there. So all you need to do now is to just set, okay, we want the justify content to be space between, which is my favorite. I don't know about you, but I just love using uh space between. But this time I'm going to set the align content to align item to stretch instead of center. I want them to stretch from the top to the bottom, and we give it a max height. So I don't want this to be like the way the image looks like. So you can see that they have it's stretched down, and this one also. So this the height of this is not controlled. Okay, let's say the height of the sidebar is not controlled by the content on the main layout. So that's what we need to work on. So in order to do that, we need to make sure we set the max height, and we need to perform some calculation. So CSS provides us with a calc function. So what we need to do is to look at the max height of the screen. So that is the view height. So 100 view height minus the size of our top nav. And what's the size of our top nav? If you scroll back up, you can see we set it somewhere around here. We have 50 pixels. So we just need to subtract 50 pixels from our max height. Sorry, from the max height of our viewing device, which for my laptop now, I believe it's somewhere around uh one 300, I believe so. So we just save that, and that's going to be the max height of this. So if we reload, you can see now they're side by side. But now how do we restrict the size of this sidebar so it doesn't so it's not half and half? Because currently if I set the sidebar, I'm just going to write that down right now. So sidebar, and give it a background color of red, and give the main layout a background color of blue, and reload. Sorry, I just placed this outside without putting it. So we say main, and reload. Oh, yeah, still doing something wrong. Reload. So I'm gonna give them their width of 100 pixel, 100%. So width of 100% and reload. Yeah. So you can see both of them are side by side. So they actually, take the width, the 100% of their flex container, so which is divided by 2 because we only have two block elements in that particular flex container, so they will take 50-50. So that 100% means take 100% of the 50% that the flex container gives to you. We don't want this. Okay, we need to restrict this. Okay, so what if we say, okay, take 50% of your portion and we reload. So you can see this is actually growing, but we don't want this to be controlled by the width. Okay, so how do we fix that? So I'm not going to get rid of the background color. I'm going to set it to white because I want the sidebar to be white. But instead of setting the width, so what I'm going to do is to set the flex basis. So we have something in CSS called flex basis, which is a way of setting the width of a flex item. But I'm going to use the shortcut. So I want this flex not to grow. I don't want it to shrink either. And I'm going to set it to 12%. So take 12% of your given, you know, flex container, if I'm to put it that way. So you can see it over here. It's hard to see the white because the background color is white as well, so but it's kind of difficult to see, but you can see that this main layout has taken the rest of it. Okay, so just to set up the remaining stuff, I want the minimum height to be equal to this. I believe we could set this to a variable, so let's do that. So let's just say accepted height. So instead of reusing it, like writing this all over and over again, so we could just store that in a variable and just plug that wherever we want to use it. So we could just plug it here as a var accepted height, and that should still work fine. So if we I'm just going to change the color to black so we see something. So once we reload, so you can see that this is now the accepted height, and you can see now that it's difficult to see the text, but at least you get a point. Now we can be able to not only able to store colors, we can still store calculations in variables. So that's the cool thing of modern day CSS, especially CSS 3. So I'm just going to go back and set this back to the color I want, which is white. And since I've set the minimum height, I'm also going to set the maximum height and the height as well, which is um, kind of not conventional, but I don't want to hear any story that this didn't work out fine. So let's just set everything there. I'm going to set a filter, just some drop shadow. So filter drop shadow, and let's just say 0 to 0, 3 pixels, 2 pixels, that's a spread, and RGB a 0.2. So once we I'm just going to set the overflow on the y-axis to auto, in case we have more content on the sidebar, which should make it overflow. So let's save that and reload. And so you can see I'm just going to set the color of let me set the color of the main layout, so we can see how I really want that to be. So let's set this one here. So let's remove everything right here. So let's set the flex to 1 because I want it to grow as much as the container is. That's the remaining portion of the container. So I want it to grow as much as it is. So I don't want it to shrink. I also don't want to set a specific width for it. That is the flex basis. So once you set flex equal to 1, then that's going to work fine for you because I want it to grow as much as the container can allow it to grow. So let's set the background color to RGBA. I don't want it to be white like that, so I'm just gonna go with 240. Let's say 239, 239 as well. I believe that should give it some grayish white. And we also set the max height to the same variable, and let's just give some padding of 10 pixels. And finally, we could also add some overflow because we might have content within the main layout that could make it overflow. So let's just add that overflow to auto. So once we reload, so you can see we have our main layout over here and we have our sidebar right here. Okay. Okay, so I believe this video is long enough. So let's continue working on the sidebar in the next lecture. So once we're done with the sidebar fully, then we'll come back to our top nav. Then we're gonna finish up with our dashboard that's in the main layout, which should really take up much of this tutorial, this short crash course on building an admin dashboard. All right, so let's see each other in the next lecture.